What's going on, guys? Kalamazi here. Patch 10.15 has been out for about 3 days or so now, and tonight I want to talk to you all a bit about Warlock and Warcraft logs and Aberrus and a little bit in Mythic Plus, because after the first day or so, Plus was re-enabled, and we are now playing Destro Demo and AF. Well, I guess some of us are in Plus. There are new builds popping up. Today, reviewing new builds, talking about why they're good in the raid, where they're good in the raid, how each boss is shaping up with improved Destro, increased quality of life AF, and Demo still being Demo, and I guess just, yeah, going from there. Like always, week cards, add-ons, and profiles, links to Twitch and Discord down below, we're all for free for you guys. To a similar extent, like always, I also want to give a shout out to my patrons before we get too far in the video. For all support on Patreon, guys, thank you a million times. I really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon or following on Twitter or anything, links all that up here. And, yeah, let's get right into it. Alrighty, so getting into log review here, initially I'm going to scroll through every boss just to show where Locke is sitting amongst every spec. Kazara, Demonology is still doing pretty well, and Holy's doing well as well. Amalgamation Chamber, a lot of Demonology. Experiments, some Warlock stuff. Assault, there's a Warlock here, but mages are cranking. Mages are sick. Rashok, single target. I'll do some bit of Demo stuff here. Zaskarn is a grab bag of, I don't know, whatever you want to play at this point. There's a Warlock here. Magmarax, fire stuff. Some Demo stuff here and there. Echo, decent bit of Demo stuff. Sarkareth, Demo stuff here as well. So overall, Warlock is faring, I'd say, pretty well in 10.1.5, similar to how 10.1 went. Not a whole lot has really changed as far as, like, I guess, Warlock representation in the raid. But yeah, so let's get into the actual Warlock parse design each fight here. Now, off the bat, this just to show, this is a 10.1.5 sim, or I guess partition here. This is all Warlock specs. There's different specs mixed in here. So when it comes to Kazara, now, I believe there's still a bit of an issue happening right now where, with augmentation evokers, their damage amplification to pets is not being separated from what I understand in logs. It should be fixed soon, I think. We'll see what happens if they partition it again or not, or whatever. Who knows? But for the most part, things just were similar. Now, Kazara for a long time has been mostly a Demonology fight. A really good kill time for Demonology being 338, 340. This is roughly when your second portal ends. Pit Lord expires, all that, and hey, the boss dies, which is, you know, great for parsing. Pretty short fight too. Now, there is a bit of a disparity between some of the faster kills being 338, some of the long runs being like 430-ish, but for the most part, this boss dies pretty fast after the nerfs. It is pretty much a wall of Demonology. All playing Clash Trinket and Iridius Fragment. I do want to mention here as well that you might see a few parsers in this video playing the mirror from the new dungeon. It is currently bugged. It is simming higher than it actually is in game. In sims, it shows, I think, roughly 3% for the Sandman, the guy that spawns and does damage, in your raw breakdown. In game, it's about 1.3 to 1.4 from what I've seen. So it might sim higher than Iridius Fragment, but in actuality, it's not, at least from what I would expect when it's fixed. I would still play Iridius Fragment at this point. So Kazara, still being a 338 kill, a lot of Demo stuff here. To a similar extent, Demonology, or sorry, AF, has been seeing some play on this fight. Not a crazy amount, but if you filter by destruction, so we've got a handful of parses here. Now, like we talked about, when it comes to Destro, you've got the Crushing Chaos build here, which is this indicator right here. Everyone's playing Crushing Chaos, I think for the most part here, everybody is. Now, like we said, there's a lot of non-Grand Warlocks design Destro here, and that is once again because of the fact that this fight is roughly a 335 to 340 kill time, a bit longer, a bit shorter, 323, 319. Now, the thing here, whether you're playing Grand Warlock design or not, if you're not playing Grand Warlock design, your Infernal is at 0 and at 3. If you're playing Grand Warlock design, your Infernal is going to be 0, 2, and then 4 minutes. But when the fight dies at 318, 341, 346, 319, 303. This is a really fast kill for what it's worth. But parses, like, I guess, kills right in this vicinity, you're still getting 2 Infernals regardless, whether you're playing Grand Warlock's design or non-Grand Warlock's design. So most of the parses here are not playing GWD, and they're opting to put that other point in Burn to Ashes, like we talked about. So you'll see this a bit more in other fights too. But for the most part, Destro, if you want to play on this fight, you can. But it's likely a non-GWD angle. And when it comes to Affliction, it sort of varies depending on kill time and things again, but we are indeed seeing Spoils on Aberrus, Clash Trinket, and a decent bit of Malevolent Visionary play here too. A little bit right here of non-Malevolent Visionary, Haunted Soul play, but this has been the back and forth of AF for a long time. You've got Malevolent Visionary being spikier when it comes to damage profiles, and you've got Haunted Soul being more consistent, but not as strong when it comes to cooldown. So either way, when it comes to Kazara, mostly a Demo fight, but Destro and AF aren't doing terrible either. But if you're looking to put up big damage, Demo's likely where I'd look. Now, Amalgamation Chamber, going to speed it up a bit here. A lot of demo stuff here. It is sort of a cleave fight when it comes to phase 1, but keep in mind, a lot of this fight is single target based. If you're splitting the raid off onto one ad and swapping sides, or in phase 2, when the boss comes to 1, it is pretty much patchwork. Now, with that being said, we're looking at playing mostly Demonology stuff here again. Playing the single target build with Vile Fiend, Sack Souls, Umbral Blaze, and all that. Clash Trinket, Spoils, nothing surprising. Once again, a very good kill time here, 334. This is literally second portal ends and the boss dies, ahead by 16k DPS. You can see, I mean, obviously parse is very, but you can see the disparity here, right? A 335 kill time, very good for portal. Maybe like 340 being a little better, but I mean, if you can get optimal timing, it's exceptionally strong to have Portal with PI and everything on pull, and then Portal at 3 roughly again, 310-ish. Pit Lord comes out, big value, fight ends, and there you go. Great kill time for this. Seeing a bit of Destro here as well. Destro ends up playing the cleave build here with just 3-minute Infernal, because once again, about a 4-minute kill time, so you're not getting a third Infernal. Same cleave build as before for the most part. I've seen a mix of Crushing Chaos and not Crushing Chaos here. I'd probably opt more towards Crushing Chaos at this point. It does sim higher playing the cleave build. I've seen the cleave build just basically not playing any points of Scalding Flames and go, I've seen the cleave build playing Rolling Havoc actually, but I've seen it also not playing it. And on this fight where you're not getting like permanent cleave and things, you're actually just not really wanting to play cleave build here. But I have seen Crushing Chaos more than non-Crushing Chaos, and for the most part I probably would lean towards Crashing here. Once again, not a 4-minute fight for the most part, or not a 4:30 fight, so you're not playing Grand Warlock's design. Moving on, Experiment, a mix of Demo and Destro. You can play either. Most hold CDs for that minute mark when you lust and things. Demo's very strong here depending on kill time. Destro can be strong too. A lot of cleave in this fight. Sort of up to you. Once again, 357 kill time, 411 kill time. Now, duration does vary a little bit here because you're not lusting until basically like the minute mark. So you can sort of maybe squeeze an extra Infernal in here. So you do indeed see Grand Warlock design here on a 350 parse, right here on a 412 parse. It's close, but if you're lusting at the 1-minute mark, let's say for example, you're lusting at the 1-minute mark right here, right? We can pull this up. So let's see, hopefully they lust at minute mark. Well, they do not, but that's okay. You know, you win some, you lose some. Let's find another parse here. Most guilds, some guilds are perfect. This guild's lusting at the 1-minute mark. So let's say, for example, this person is playing Grand Warlock's design, so we can go in here. And their first Infernal cast was at, I would assume, a minute, roughly. Pull this up, Infernal at a minute, and then Infernal again at 327. Now, if you're not playing Grand Warlock's design on this fight, you wouldn't get Infernal until the 4-minute mark. But, 404 to be more specific, but the boss died at 412. So playing Grand Warlock's design does indeed enable another Infernal in this fight. It depends a lot on your kill time, your strategy, and all that, but I wouldn't fault you're playing Grand Warlock's design on this fight. There's a mix of GWD and non-GWD here. So these Akali is going to be a big Grand Warlock's design, Crushing Chaos AoE fight like we have with the AoE build, which is what this mostly is here. I've been relatively impressed with this build in AoE, not incredibly excited, but it's been okay. GWD, 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 and then just a wall of Demonology playing cleave build here as well with Portal. Not surprising, similar to last patch. When it comes to Rashok, we saw a lot of AF play early on Rashok, but I assume that Demonology, excluding like pet, buffs and all that augmentation, would still likely end up taking over a bit. And there are still some AF farces in here, right here, playing the Malevolent Visionary build, right here as well, playing on its old build. Kill time does vary a good bit on Rashok. So you have 535 kills here, you have 542, you have 605, 616, and that does indeed play a bit of a role in how the fight plays out. Now, if you're a Demo lock here, for example, a great kill time is 549. If you go CDs on pole, Tyrant at 140, 3 minutes basically, Tyrant again with PI, and then hold Portal to like 5-minute mark and get PI with Portal again at like 515. PI, all that, potion, kill the boss, and basically when Portal ends and Pit Lord spawns or despawns everything, Tyrant ends, the boss dies. Great kill time. Demo and AF will find this fight, even a bit of Destro here too. Honestly, oh look, there I am. Honestly, any fight, any spec in this fight is likely more than fine at this point. Destro is the highest simming spec for Warlock currently, but simming the highest, actually performing the best, don't always go hand in hand. Yeah, so moving on from there, we have Zaskarn, which is interesting. It is a mix of Demo, AF, and Destro, which, this fight is awkward. They changed the timers again this week to have a bit more leeway between overlaps on certain mechanics. I've been playing Demo on it, just cleave build. I believe the highest parse here is playing It was playing a single target build actually, but a cleave build has overtaken it. Here's the previous high parse. This fight is totally a toss up. Whatever you want to play is likely more than fine. You have a Grand Warlock design build here. You have two non-GWD builds here as well. So it's where it depends. If you're infernaling on pull, you can get 3 in with a 442 kill, but at the same time, with overlaps and things, it might not be optimal. I haven't played Destro in this fight, but either way, both seem fine. Magmarax, a lot of demo here. Once again, keep in mind pet damage and all that kind of stuff, but still, like last patch, Magmarax being a pretty big demo fight. A few AF parses mixed in here, even a Destro parse here as well. Playing Grand Warlock's design with a 5-minute kill. Once again, keep in mind you can go Infernal 0-2-4 versus in a 5-minute kill versus non-GWD just going 0-3. So there's that. Moving on from there, we have Echo Notharian also being a good bit of demonology, a bit of AF here, which is interesting as well. We talked about this before the patch where AF could be okay in this fight. Playing a Malevolent Visionary build, no seed, which is solid. Well, Phase 3 does have a lot of AoE. It's more of a single target kind of check. There is Seed here, which, to be fair, I wouldn't fault somebody for playing Seed in Phase 3. If you're looking for more boss damage, I would not play it, but both builds are fine. At this point, the boss should die regardless after the nerfs. But Demo, it does look to be the highest, I guess, overall spec here currently. We'll see where it goes in the next few days. But like last patch, a lot of Demo. A little bit of Destro, I believe, was mixed in somewhere here. Playing Grand Warlock design, which makes this fight interesting, because you can go 0-2-4-6 comparatively just to 0-3-6. So we'll see where that goes. And on Sarkarath, very interesting here. So Sarkarath has a good bit of demonology, a little bit of affliction, however. Now, from what I've seen in all the AF parses that people that have killed this fight, nobody has played Doom Blossom, which I think is likely pretty solid. I don't believe so. Now, I am a little curious if there is like some meme Doom Blossom pad build that might emerge later on. I doubt it is, because you want like a lot of single target relevancy in this fight. But it would be sort of funny seeing just Doom Blossom build with Phase 2 ads being blown up and just Omega padding there. But honestly, like later on, just likely better to play Dread Touch build and everything else. This build actually playing Seed here, which is interesting. I think this is actually a good play. So you do want to have some kind of value in the ads, even when you come up from downstairs in Phase 2, to be able to cast a Seed quickly and then go into a Vile Taint and likely just rapture them down. Being able to apply that AoE corruption, that huge haste buff with Vile Taint and everything else is very important. I think having that Seed there, without just baseline Seed's actually a really good check, really good change there. Besides that, playing Malevolent Visionary, 1 point in Wrath versus 2 points in Malevolent Visionary. But yeah, overall, Sarkarath is going to be, I mean, I would assume still a pretty big demonology fight, but AF is indeed rising. If you sort, let's go to all Warlocks here. If you sort Sarkarath by overall damage, it's like 60 most. Keep in mind, once again, pet damage, exclusion, and all that, not really in yet from what I understand in Warcraft logs. If you go to boss damage, though, I would assume AF's up here. Okay, Demo's ahead by a little bit here still as well. Once again, if you do sort of factor in like the pet damage thing with augmentation, well, it might change a little bit here and there. But AF isn't doing too bad, right? 135 comparatively to the highest Demo parse being 145, right? So we'll see where this goes. I want to keep an eye on it. I think Sark probably is likely still a bit of a better Demo fight for damage profiles, but the more the boss changes, the faster it gets. If they nerf the fight again, like health-wise, it could very well mean that guilds don't have to go down anymore to the final downstairs phase. And if that's the case, then it might change timings a good bit and maybe make it lean more towards Affliction. And I believe, I think there was a Destro kill today as well, but I don't believe the log is public. People have been talking about playing Destro in the fight, but there are a few. But the one I saw today, I believe, was better than these four. Still, I'm sure they're all champions, but they all are indeed playing Grand Warlock's design just to show. Once again, 0-2-4. In this fight, you'd see the 0-2-4 and 7. But you have that 2-minute profile, 0-2-4 with haste effects, power infusion, whatever, and you just destroy. So all three specs sitting in play on Sarkarath, which is fun, exciting, and yeah. Oh, and also Demonology. Just to filter here quickly. Demonology, there's been a few parses popping up playing an interesting trinket. It's been a few. I don't know what this is. Mirror of Fractured Tomorrows. So like we said, this is bugged. But Spoils on Altheris. Spoils of Naltheris. And also, like we said, even as Demonology, you see the 0-2-4 and then 7 on this fight. So you get big Iridius value basically on pull at 4, like 4, I guess like 20-ish. And then you get Iridius Fragment at the end of the fight. But you don't get it with your last Tyrant. It's later on. So Spoils is seeing more play here. I wouldn't be surprised to see an even bigger shift to Spoils over the next few days or weeks. We'll see where it goes. But there is some validity in playing spoils. We discussed it during Prog, didn't pull the trigger on it. Maybe we should have. So keep that in mind. But yeah, for the most part, as far as Aberrus is concerned, not a whole lot's really changed with Warlock stuff. App's gotten a little better in certain fights. Demo's the same in most fights. Destra's a little better too when it comes to having Grand Warlock's design on certain fights, like Assault, and other timings where it lines up better, like Echo, maybe Sarkarath. But keep in mind, once again, from what I understand, Demonology is not having pet damage separated appropriately, from what I understand currently, with Augmentation Evokers. So we'll look at this again maybe next week, go from there and elaborate a bit more when that is implemented. But for the most part, even with that being the case, I don't expect Demo to really change. I guess things to change a whole lot, because Demo is still Demo, and the profile is still pretty good. So let's take a look at Mythic Plus. So getting into Mythic Plus here, now, it is like day 2 of M+, I guess day 2-ish. Keep in mind, M+ was not really a thing day 1 because of the bug, the exploit that I think to be fixed by Blizzard. They disabled it for a whole day, but it is enabled now. And looking through here, there have been a handful of keys that have been timed within the last day or so by Warlocks. Now, I've scrolled through a bunch of these, but they all look to pretty much be playing Destro. Now, Shade ended up playing this build here, which is pretty much the de facto build we talked about earlier. You end up having just Avatar, Master Ritualist, Ritual of Ruin, 2 points of Madness, Infernal, Crashing Chaos, and Grand Warlock Design. He played this, I believe, in a Halls of Infusion. Same build in the Halls and the Freehold and the Brackenhide here. Basically playing just the same de facto talents. Now, I played this build a little bit in Plus the first day. I was relatively impressed when it came to like Infernal CDR, but I felt like the build didn't really excel at any one thing a crazy amount. It felt like it was good at AoE. I thought it would be a little better when it came to like having your Infernal massive AoE. I wasn't expecting like just straight up season 3 of Shadowlands where you're gonna just melt the entire world, but I thought it would maybe feel a little better here. 27 Brackenhide here as well, playing the same talent build also, but it was a little off. It didn't feel as strong, but it felt okay. Having your Infernal in 2 minutes or less felt pretty good as well. Going back here now, interestingly enough, looking at these, so they are playing Spoils in Screaming Black Dragon scale. Shade opted to play, I believe he was playing, Chromatic Essence and Netherian's Call to Dominance, which I've had a bit of some mixed feelings on. I Call to Dominance. I don't think it's terrible. There have been times where it's been frustrating popping my Infernal and having to move for Volcanic or move for rocks falling in Netherian's Lair or dodge Spiteful if I pop my Infernal later on, but it might just be a bit of getting used to saying, okay, I'm going to Infernal, drop it and just dump Rain of Fires. It might be a bit more of a learning, I guess, curve, because I was playing Spoils and Aberrus for a while, and what I had sort of found was that while it felt okay, there were a lot of times where I really couldn't actually just get insane value out of it. And while I didn't mind it, it was like, oh, okay, it's not synced with my Infernal. I don't want to hold Infernal here, so I'm popping it because we had like a minute and a half Infernal. So I feel like double equipped is actually a pretty solid option for Destruction when it comes to playing that build. Now, when it comes to Affliction, Nick opted to play this build here in a 26 Freehold, which is going to be, if I can pull this up, the Doom Blossom Grim Reach build. Now, we talked about this build. We're also talking about the Haunted Soul build here. I opted to play both. I guess I have played both. I feel like Doom Blossom feels good in keys where AoE is relevant when it comes to like Freeholds and Brackenhides and Underrots and things. When it comes to like Halls of Infusion or Netherian's Lair or more single target based keys, I would not want to play Doom Blossom for the most part. I mean, unless you're pulling very large, which you can be in these higher end groups, but Doom Blossom's been very impressive in settings where you can get massive AoE. But when it comes to like, these Netherian's Lairs, maybe in pugs or things where you're not running World First keys, where you're pulling 1 pack at a time, and you have 3 mobs in the pack, or some packs you even have 2 in Netherian's Lair. You don't even want to seed those packs in the first place with 2 targets. So Doom Blossom's felt pretty good in the right setting. It just feels like it's a little niche when it comes to you don't want it everywhere. 2-minute Infernal, for the most part, probably applicable pretty much everywhere. Maybe on Tyrannical, might be certain builds you play where maybe change a talent or 2 here or there, but Doom Blossom might end up being a fortified, just mass AoE talent. When it feels good, when it's good, it cranks, right? Now, I also have sub creation pulled up here. It is indeed up to date for the most recent builds over the past 2 days for all 3 specs. We saw a demo on or Destro and Af a little bit, but just, once again, we'll hit on Destro quickly here. The most played build currently at 13.5% roughly is going to be the 2-minute build here, playing just full Avatar Ritual, playing your full 2-minute Infernal, and playing Madness. Now, the one thing that I didn't like about this build, which we talked about a bit during the guide and everything, is that it really feels awkward not having Embers and Chaos Incarnate around. I have seen some I guess, speculative builds that look like this running around, playing all of this stuff here and playing a point in Burn to Ashes over Master Ritualist, which still gives you 2-minute Infernal, gives you a bit more relevancy in single target with Burn to Ashes, Embers just being good in general, and Chaos Incarnate being good in general as well. But losing out on Avatar with its stun and just Master Ritualist when they all bring together is pretty impactful. So we'll see where this goes, but either way, I have seen both, but unsurprisingly, day one, the most impactful, I guess, most played build being Crashing Chaos with Grand Warlock's design, all that kind of stuff. Just the only variation here being Dark Accord versus Strength of Will. Moving on from there, the third most played build is actually still the old build here, playing 3-minute Infernal with Avatar, Ritual, all that, Chaos Incarnate, Embers, Madness, and Overwhelming. Now, I wouldn't even be surprised, or possibly, if this build ends up being played a good bit this season. Maybe in Tyrannical a bit more than Fortified. We'll see where it goes, but just due to the fact that you get Embers, and you get Chaos Incarnate, and you get your full Avatar Ritual build here, plus getting a point in Power Overwhelming. While you might not have 2-minute Infernal, and maybe don't have Crashing Chaos, you do get other elements that you can certainly feel are lacking when it comes to playing a 2-minute build. So it's worth keeping an eye on this, but currently the most played build is going to indeed be the 2-minute build. Now moving on to Demonology here, the highest build overall, which I had not played at all this patch yet, I've only played Af and Destro, is going to be the Guillotine build. It's fortified this week with Heavy-Handed, Cavitation, 1 point here, Bloodbound Imps, Imp Gang Boss, Ray of Tyranny, the build we talked about in the guide. Now, as a build here, also, let me see, the fourth most played build here at 3%, playing Immutable Hatred. I'm not really sure why you necessarily want to do this, because it is fortified and things, and Hatred is a lot worse than playing Portal in single target, but nonetheless, it is an option, I guess, theoretically. But the highest played build is going to be the Guillotine build by a good bit, which makes sense. It's fortified weak. Demonology, for the most part, feels the same. You lost your third dog, but they buff dogs to compensate. They buffed Implosion. They buff Hand Golden damage. They buff a lot of abilities to just make Demo basically the same as it was when it comes to AoE, and having Bloodbound Imps feels great in AoE, having just a million cores whenever you implode, and you can also feel the difference. Well, you can't really feel it in single target, but that's a good thing. You can't feel the difference, I should say, from last patch, because Bloodbound Imps makes up for the lack of third dog being the third demonic core stack guaranteed. So the build feels good overall. Played it on PTR, not surprised to see it being the most played build at week 1 with being fortified. That's that. There is indeed the option of playing another Portal Cleave build too if you want, which I think this is more of a Tyrannical setting, where you want to have Portal with Tyrant, or with Pit Lord and Tyrant, all the empowerments here. Likely see this more next week when you're playing Tyrannical keys, but yeah, for now, Demo is looking like Demo, which is what we pretty much thought. Nothing really changes there. When it comes to AF, the most played build at 10% is going to be the Haunted Soul Doom Blossom build, which we talked about in the guide a bit as well. I played this build. Now, I think I would likely put this point over here in Soul Rot at this point, most likely. A bit more AoE relevancy, more single target relevancy, all of that. I played this build a little bit. Feels fine. I also liked having Dark Lair with Grim Reach. It might be more of like a Tyrannical versus, like Tyrannical being this versus this being more fortified, playing Grim Reach. But both builds have felt pretty good for the most part when Doom Blossom is relevant. There is a bit of a lack of single target, I feel like, but that's just been the story of AF since, I don't know, Dragonflight's inception with, you know, weird single target profiles and all that kind of stuff with Doom Blossom and yada yada. So the highest build being that at 10%. Second highest build being here, once again, well, playing Doom Blossom, but this is going to be the Grim Reach build. I would assume this build, the longer the week goes, likely ends up overtaking the Haunted Soul build just because of Fortified. It honestly just feels better in AoE and all that. And Haunted Soul has been fine, but once again, a bit more of a Tyrannical single target emphasis. But either way, both builds likely end up, I would probably play Soul Rot in both builds here. Both builds are indeed. And yeah, so for the most part, I think it's shaken out. That's how I say it. How we thought it would be. How we thought it would for the most part. The first few days of the patch. As a build here, also, if you go down more, still playing the Grim Reach Dark Harvest version. But I think if you're in Fortified in keys like Freehold or Under Rot or just large AoE keys, you're going to want Doom Blossom, because Doom Blossom really cranks. So for the most part, I think everything's shaken out the way we thought it would. Been sort of on the fence about how I feel about Destro and AF stuff. And plus, got to play it more this weekend to get a better feel for it. But I haven't hated it. So thanks for watching, guys. That wraps it up. Hopefully any questions you might have had about, I guess, Lock and Aberrus or 10.1.5 so far and all that were answered in this video. Things will still be changing over the next few days. I'll likely make a video this weekend, maybe early next week, talking about like the best theoretical builds for Warlock in Mythic Plus and rating and things like that, and go from there. But we're still testing things. I haven't been as impressed with Destron as I thought I would be, but at the same time, I haven't tested it a crazy amount, so this weekend we'll test a lot more, and I guess go from there. And honestly, Demo is still Demo. It still does demonology things, and it feels the same, even with Third Dog being gone, with playing things like Bloodbound Imps and all of that. So, yeah. Like I said, any weak auras or add-ons, profiles, whatever, links to Twitch and Discord down below for free for you guys. To a similar extent, I want to give one huge shout out again to my patrons for reading the video. For all supporting on Patreon, guys, like always, thank you a million times. Really appreciate it. If you're looking at supporting on Patreon, it should be a link up here, as well as down below in the video description. Now, 10.15 did indeed come out a few days ago, but give it about a week and a half or so, and we already know about 10.17, which is, I would assume, coming out like in a month or a month and a half or so, give or take. Don't know anything, just saying. But either way, I would assume give a month, maybe a month, like 5 to 6 weeks max, and we're in 10.2 PTR. That's going to come faster than it may seem because we got things like Diablo coming out, all kind of stuff. It's going to be here soon, so within the next 2 weeks or so, you're going to see a lot of 10.2 videos rolling out on this channel, talking about lock stuff, feedback, what I want to see in 10.2, a lot of things I have planned. So if you guys are interested in that or anything, hit the sub button below. Hit the like button for this video as well. They both help out. But yeah, be sure to check back. Also, at the same time, if you'd like to give any feedback on anything, you can put it, I guess, in this video's comment section, or come by Twitch when we're working on it, which is going to be in a week or so probably, and we can go from there. So yeah, all that being said, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you all again soon on stream. Peace.